And I first want to call on Margaret Jungk from the UN Working Group on Human Rights to report to us about recent developments of the working group. Margaret, please.
Okay. Thank you, Georg, and brothers and sisters. You know, for the majority of the sessions that we put on the agenda, they're pretty self-explanatory. So the UN Working Group doesn't always feel the need to step up and introduce them. But for this particular session, we wanted to share with you a bit about why we felt it was important and why we placed it at this particular point on the agenda. So the central challenge that lies at the heart of every annual forum is how we get the UN guiding principles out there and how we get them taken up and implemented. And to do this effectively, we have to make sure that we are aware of the broader trends that work around us in that wider environment, the ones that will influence the way the guiding principles are taken up. So the UN Working Group watches carefully, particularly along three trends or three areas, and I wanted to share those with you today. So the first one is we watch those agendas that the guiding principles will naturally link to and will need to be conversant with. So those are the ones like Georg mentioned, the Sustainable Development Goals, the Decent Work Agenda, themes of corporate responsibility and how we expect business to play a role in society. And then the second is trends that will shape the way that the guiding principles are taken up in terms of the dynamics. So like the increased global South-South trade and increasing calls for stronger regulation in certain industry sectors, like in the banking sector following the financial crisis. And then thirdly, there are challenges that we need to apply the guiding principles lens to in order to bring more clarity to those discussions. So these are things like corporate lobbying and political capture, things like the trend towards casualization of the workforce or precarious work, which Sharon mentioned this morning, things which actually distance the worker from the company that she's performing the work for. Now, these types of trends and broader forces will influence the uptake of the guiding principles at that overarching global community level. But they'll also work their dynamics within each of our stakeholder communities. So the governments will have their particular trends that will affect how they take up the guiding principles, while businesses are dealing with trends like the consolidation of global supply chains that will affect their uptake. And meanwhile, civil society will be riding trends like the use of mobile phone technology to record and capture corporate practices around them. And this panel will have representatives from each of those communities who can give us insights into what's top of mind in terms of the trends and influential forces that they are seeing, which will shape the uptake of the guiding principles. But these trends and influences also exist at the broad regional level, which is one of the reasons that the UN Working Group holds regional forums each year to feed directly into the annual forum. And so one of my jobs now is to just feed a few of the top highlight themes that we received out of the Africa Regional Forum, which we held 2 months ago. It was attended by over 200 folks from 33 countries in Africa. And some of the challenges and trends that were mentioned there were, we heard a lot about corruption and land disputes, the difficulties facing small and medium-sized enterprises and their struggle staying in business, and the impacts of mega projects like mining operations and big infrastructure projects on local communities. And we also heard about some good trends, like the increase in sophistication between the dialogue of company and community, and trends towards more transparent decision-making in how revenue would be used from large-scale mining projects. So I can't do justice to all of the things we heard reported out of the Africa Forum, but fortunately we have a number of colleagues here today who will join us from that forum, and they'll share some of their insights throughout the sessions over the next 2 days. But before I hand back to Georg, I have a quick confession to make too, and that is that there was also a very selfish reason that the UN Working Group decided to put this session on the agenda. And that is because we have just closed our first 3-year term, so that ended in November. And we're at the start of our second mandate term, which started December 1st. So we're at that very critical point in developing our strategy and approach where we need to look forward to the trends and understand the factors that will shape the uptake of the guiding principles in the next 3 years in order to develop our strategy around those. So we will be listening very closely and intensely for the lessons that you have to share and the insights you have to share so that we can build those into our work going forward. Thank you.